Pike's pushed Morton forward up ahead. He's got out of line. Is now Pike going to have a go at Werrell? Don't push him off. He's in the championship fight. Jack Werrell chasing down Carl Jacklin. Further down, Rob Williams and Chris Barnes.
Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still start dropping. He's left on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Coming down.
Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
They're going to toss it. They haven't got it.
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still start dropping. He's left on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry!
Welcome to South America and to the Autodromo José Carlos Pache, better known as Interlagos in Brazil, for round 4 of the iFormula Super Formula Series with myself, Alex Goldschmidt. Joining me very shortly will be Dean Biggles. We're underway with the final few minutes of qualifying, but we're going to have a quick look over the standings so far. Last week at the US Grand Prix on the 10th of February, Gianluca Iliano and Derek Miller both respectively won the Pro and the AM classes. But it's Marian Barbiero that leads the way in the Pro standings on 117 points, ahead of Arturo Mayorga on 104. Hannes Schlegel, Gianluca Iliano, James Miller and Adrian Kullerside round out the top 6. Frank and Jacob Beezer lead the way in the AM classification. Frank on 94 points, Jacob on 71, tied with Eric Magnusson from Lumos E Motorsports. Derek Miller 4th in the AM standings, ahead of Tyler Gilbert, Daniel Dixon and Alexander Shanna. Inten Get Good Sim Racing leading the way in the team's classification on 202 points, with Inten Flat Out Sim Racing on 171. Closely followed, just 6 points adrift, the Beezer Racing Team on 165, with Maxwell Racing Team, Lumos E Motorsports, Apollo Motorsports and Knox E Motorsports rounding out the 7 teams. So into the final 60 seconds of this time qualifying session. Dean Biggles, good afternoon, buddy. Well, we're back in the saddle with these wonderful Super Formula cars, as we're on board with Marian Barbiero, who is trying to put in another push lap.
Take us around.
Hello. Yeah, it's all good, mate. It's all good. Interlagos, awesome classic circuit, been the home of Formula One for pretty much since the early 1970s, before everything changed around to what we see now. But great to see these Super Formula cars back in action.
If they ever get rid of this track, I'm going to stop watching Formula One, I swear. Especially when you've got ridiculous tracks like Monaco, of course, on the grid, and you can never get rid of Interlagos. This is actually James's favourite track as well too. So and mine. Actually, coming up at the moment, I wanted to show you about this. Because I don't think you're aware of it. Anybody out there? See that little tree right there? Gotta pass it around it. There, right there. Sorry, see it to the right? That's the lone pine tree. It has its own little barrier. It's inside the safety barriers. It's quite crazy, isn't it? I mean, you never notice it. Because you're not going to hit it either, because look where it's completely off the racing line.
Yeah,
although you never say never, right? Because we didn't expect that Grosjean crash as well, too.
No, exactly. Just at the outside of turn 11 at Margulo, pretty much every single corner on this circuit has a name, very much in the tradition of British circuits. But Derek Miller, after time qualifying, has put in the fastest lap in the session, a 25-minute qualifying session. We've got 47 laps of this circuit to navigate. Derek Miller, 1 minute 14.9, an absolutely Herculean lap. And the current variation of the circuit, just under 2.7 miles, 4.3 kilometers. Race lap record set by Valtteri Bottas back in 2018, a 1 minute 10.540, as Barney the Flag Marshal is furiously waving the checkered. But yeah, I mean, very close qualifying between the top 7.5 tenths, rounded out by Hannes Schlegel.
There you go. Speaking of Barney the Flag, man, he does a better job than what Tim Cook did that time, wasn't it? Yeah.
That was
Formula One. I couldn't believe Tim Cook's like couldn't even barely move it. He's like, come on. Because you're a CEO of a company. As you can hear, the cars zooming off in the background as well, too, in this circuit. This is also, we were just talking about this. We're waiting for the qualifying to finish up so I can pull the grid up. What was I going to say? Yeah, we were talking about just before in the green room, and hello everybody in the chat, that about this is going to be one of those fun tracks when the iRacing has rain, right? Because Interlagos is notoriously one of those tracks. This one in Hungary and things like that, isn't it? Tracks that generally have a lot of rainfall.
Yeah, exactly. When it rains, it pours, and especially when a certain Mr. Max Verstappen came out of Sorbida's boxes at turns 13 and 14, the car went completely sideways. The nose nearly hit the barrier, and he saved it. And then everyone was like thinking, "How on earth did he do that?"
They're going for a warm-up now as well. So I thought that after the practice and then the qualifying, you've done enough warm-up laps. But hey, more the practice, the better, especially in these lovely cars. So what we'll do is that you can give us a hot lap around and find somebody.
I think let's ride on board with the number 2 of Arturo Mayorga. So we're going to be heading through into turn 6 and 7 at Ferradura and La Regina before we go to SA at turn 8. So a lot of undulation, lots of ups and downs. He's making his way through Pinheirino through turn 9 before Bico de Pato at turn 10. So this is one of the tightest corners on the circuit. So you've really got to drop down the gearbox, then don't accelerate too heavily. Margulo is the next left-hander, so it's downhill, sweeper, and down to Junção here at turn 12, and then it's up the hill. This is where you really sort of build the speed. You're going up the gearbox. It's currently up into 5th gear. He'll probably be using, if he does, the push to pass, as we have here on the Super Formula cars. And then across the line, out to turn number 15. So 15 corners, it's just under 2.7 miles into the Senna S's at turns 1 and 2. We're heading through turn 3 at the Cova do Sol before the Reto Aposta, which I think you told me the meaning of. And I quickly, there we go, opposite straight on the run. And it's a very long run down to Decido de Lago here at turns 4 and 5, where you can really have the opportunity to put it towards the outside or put it towards the inside, unless you're Sebastian Vettel and Charles Leclerc when you come together. Whoops! Did I just throw that one out
Too
there?
soon.
Yes, I did. Well, we could be making some references to that, and then back through into Ferradura and Ferradura, La Regina, Pinheirino. So the good thing is it's a very flowing circuit. It's good for a lot of side-by-side action as well, Dean.
Yeah, that's what I was saying to you as well in the green room, that this is the only one of the only tracks that I have commentated on where I've seen 2 cars go side by side through the whole track, and you don't get that very often because it doesn't have any of those huge big hairpins kind of thing. But this is also frightening. Every single time I see this, and it's a high speed, of course, as you're chasing way up around the final corner.
Yeah.
And there. It's frightening because it reminds me of the time when Mark Webber had that crash, and then Fernando Alonso hit his tire or some of the debris from his vehicle at full speed. There was a big impact, and really, he was very, very lucky to walk away from that one. Severely winded or something. James in the chat saying he taught Max everything, all he knows, and g'day, Doodly.
Well, I still remember the 6 hours of Interlagos for the World Endurance Championship, and I think wasn't that where Aussie Grit actually crashed out in the Porsche 919?
Yes.
Like you said, it was I mean, we were talking about, what was it, on another broadcast about Fernando Alonso and Fuji. There's Frederick Larson for Noxie Motorsports. We could see Marian Barbiero again doing what he does best. Line it up. I think he qualified 4th in this race. And he has always been the one that's gone onto his grid position and literally done a practice start. So knowing how the circuit will react to the car. Gianluca Iliano, a new race winner last time out at COTA, has decided to return to garages. But coming through to the final 40 seconds or so, Derek Miller goes across the line in the number 56 car. He put it on overall pole position for this 4th round of the season. Of course, tomorrow evening at 5:15, we'll have round 5 of the iFormula League F3 series, and that's also going to be here at Interlagos. So plenty to keep you all entertained as Derek Miller has a massive bit of snap-on oversteer going out through turn 5 through Descida del Lago into Ferradura. So again, as we know, 2 litre inline 4-cylinder turbocharged engines, about 550 brake horsepower. They're not easy, as anyone that's watched any of the iFormula League Super Formula Series before, these are a bit of a handful, Dean.
They are, and they're getting more popular, obviously, being one of the new open-wheel cars. My favourite open-wheel car, I think. That, and I have to see how the new IndyCar updates have been. Yeah. But, yeah, it's just, I mean, obviously, the F1 cars are just too difficult. Not many leagues actually do like getting enough drivers to put the W14s and stuff on there. Because, I mean, you're supposed to be the best driver in the world, aren't you, to tackle a Formula 1 car? So even in the sim, it's difficult. There you go. There's your official qualifying results.
Okay, so here's the grid for round 4 of the iFormula Super Formula Series here at Interlagos. Derek Miller and Frederick Larson on the front row. Marian Barbiero and James Millay at row 2. Gianluca Iliano and Mackenzie Roon, who makes a return, row 3. Hannes Schlegel and Jacob Beezer round out row 4. Frank Beezer, Eric Magnusson and Arturo Mayorga round out the 11-strong grid. We're waiting for the 3rd row to ready up, so it will be 47 laps of this 2.677 mile 4.309 kilometer circuit. Everyone's gridded and readied up, and now we wait. There are the 5 red lights, and here at Interlagos, round 4 of the iFormula League Super Formula Series is lights out, and we are underway. A little bit of wheel spin from around about row 2 or 3 is Derek and Marian Barbiero getting his textbook hole shots, and he's already up to P2 round the outside, going into the center S's down the hill, and he's now down to 3rd because James Miller managed to keep it pinned on the inside. Miller versus Iliano coming out of turn 3 at Curva de Sol down the Roto Oposta, the opposite straight, as Dean was alluding to, as Miller gets the run on the Italian, keeps it pinned to the outside as everyone's running a bit wide coming out of Descida del Lago through out of turn 4, and Miller loses the place again to Iliano on this opening lap, now into the likes of Ferradura, La Regina, Esse and Pinarino at turns 6 to 9. And for those wondering about what happens when they deploy the push to pass, well, the green LEDs over the top part of the airbox will start flashing to show that they're being deployed when they've run out of the 200 seconds of push to pass. That will then go out. There is Derek Miller going through into Junsao at turn 12, through into Subida's boxes. He's going to get the run on Iliano, as Frederick Larson will lead them across the line to complete the opening lap here at Interlagos, having started on the outside of the front row. So the Dane trying to make a getaway. Miller up 2 positions from 4th on the grid. Derek Miller goes towards the outside of Gianluca Iliano into the center S's, and he goes a little bit wide, and he loses the back end. He manages to keep a hold of it and still keep Iliano at bay, going through into Curva de Sol. But then there's a 3-way scrap. Mackenzie Roon trying to go around the outside of Hannes Schlegel. He's right up the rear wing of Jacob Beezer, who goes to defend. And James Miller still trying to close in on Frederick Larson. The gap between them is about 0.4 of a second as they go through the Cida de Lago once again here on lap 2 out of 47. But Frederick Larson made a good start, but I think the best start that we've seen from anybody every single time we go racing is the Romanian in third, Marian Barbiero.
Yeah, absolutely correct on that one. As James has gone, I was going to say, James, this is your favourite track. He's like, but he's going to be doing it tomorrow. Here the cars revving in the background as well from the commentary box. That's how loud they are. But we'll see if we can actually get in a chance, and they have spread out a little bit, a chance to have a look at that race start. And once again, just to show you, as you mentioned there, their Romanian mastermind doing the...
Yeah, well, this is from the start earlier on. So Derek Miller tries to get the whole shot, bogs down. Barbiero instantly to the right-hand side of him, goes 2 wheels outside of the white lines, powers past the American into center S's. James Miller goes up the inside of him through into turns 1 and 2. Miller got a better run, actually. So he got an even better whole shot than Marian Barbiero as they went through Curva de Sol and then onto the Loreto Oposto, the backwards, the opposite straight. And then Eliano and Miller were battling away tooth and nail. And then going into Descida de Lago, you'll see the leader run wide, Barbiero runs wide, Miller loses out to Elanio. Jacob Beezer, what has happened
He's gone
to
off
him
track
in the
here. I'm
meantime?
going to have a look right now. This is what's happened to Frank, actually. Frank's gone off.
Okay, Frank's gone off, and that's at the center S's, and has gone straight on.
And then Jacob has elected to go. Wow, big impact there. That's unusual to lose it really going. We'd have to see if we can have a look at that a little closer, because that's see if we can get that just kind of before, because we're only catching the tail end of that one.
That looks to be possibly into Descida, that is coming through the second half of Descida de Lago. So he's gone through turn 4, and then off and AstroTurf and bang. Ouch. Big time ouch. But he's out of the pit lane. He's back out on circuit. Meanwhile, Frederick Larson from Denmark has... James Miller's just dropped it. Miller's just dropped it, and he's gone round. Oh, dearie me.
Yeah, but he might have not got any damage on this one. This is into the center S's, no doubt. I'd say he's tagged the rear here. Oh, no, the power is too deep into that one. You can see, yeah, he's okay. But luckily, everybody goes around him. Smart thing, he stayed for a second. Yeah. Allowed the cars past, because some other drivers in frustration, of course, would have just hit that loud pedal, spun the wheels up there, and most likely collected somebody else. But not at the Super Formula League here that we have at iFL.
No, and Jacob Beezer, Frank's just had a moment as well, so drama for the 2 AM-class cars. Jacob now is actually out. I think it was terminal damage. James Miller looking up the inside of Arturo Mayorga. This is going to be very, very close indeed into the run into Magulo, now into Jungsao. And Malaya looking to try and keep it pinned to the outside. Is he going to get the run on Mayorga? He is. That was a brave move there from the Lumos E Motorsports number 9 from the States.
Using that push to pass as well, too, as you can see at the top, that light flashing. So he's trying to maintain that because he knows he's going to be under attack here from a usual DRS zone, of course, in Formula 1, where it's just too easy to overtake in Formula 1 if you're that close. But luckily here, that's why we love the push to passes really at the end of the day, because you can also use it to defend, which is what he's doing there.
Yeah, and Frederick Larson has got a comfortable lead to the tune of about 3.2 seconds over Derek Miller. So yeah, I wonder what happened with Frank. Frank Bees has been in there for over a minute, Dean.
It was that same original crash I think he had. I don't see anything else that he had.
No, unless there's been a possible disconnect. He's been in there for over a minute. So the Beezer.
It's only this one.
Yeah, let's have a look. Well, this is when he went wide, and yeah, well, that was the early one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So unless he's had a drama in the meantime, because it could have been the fact that he might have had a possible disconnect. James Miller, we've seen him come back. I mean, we saw the Hungarian Grand Prix earlier on this season where he was fighting for the win in the latter stages. He was closing on Marian Barbiero, who won 2 on the bounce. In terms of races, Hannes Schlegel has also picked up podiums over the course of this Super Formula Series, and is now closing in on Barbiero, but it's not for the race lead, it's actually for 5th position. as it looks like Schlegel's carrying a bit more momentum through into turn 1 and 2. James Miller, new fastest lap of the race, 1:16.768. So I would expect that maybe in the next few laps, well, James Miller just went 0.8 of a second quicker than Hannes Schlegel on that last tour. So we're on to lap 6 out of 47. Of course, it's a very fuel-heavy circuit as well in terms of the fuel consumption, Dean. So we're going to be interested to see what happens when the drivers decide to pit.
Yeah, you're absolutely right on that. We're going to find it because obviously we've got lots of laps to go, 42 of them. I think Frank's definitely having an issue because it's showing him in pit lane. Jacob's out. I think Jacob just retired because that car was completely smashed, as you just saw. But with Frank, I noticed that he was flickering a little bit, so it was appearing that he was out and then in the pit lane again and out. And so that indicates to me immediately there's some sort of a connection issue that he's having, a technical issue.
Yeah. So, going to be quite interesting to see Mackenzie Roon in the 4th place car, the 51 from the Inten Get Good Racing team. Closing in on 3rd place driver Gianluca Iliano. So at the moment we have 4 different nationalities out of the top 5. So Denmark from the United States, from Italy from the United States, from Romania. And then you add another one to that mix, Hannes Schlegel from Austria, in 6th position in the number 90, but James Miller has not been making, well, he's just taken a second out of Hannes Schlegel, so the gap now down to about 3.2 seconds as they come down through out of Desida de Lago and into likes of Ferradura here at turn 6. And again, I mean, it's wonderful just seeing these cars in full anger here at Interlagos, and we've got the Formula 3 race tomorrow night, which is going to be even more frantic, especially with the good old Dallara F312s.
Glorified go-karts. These are the real beasts. I'm going to get murdered for that.
Nothing wrong with go-karts. There's nothing wrong with
glorified
go-karts.
Go-kart and F3. But these. Well, then again, F3's been around a lot longer than these have. So, for all those F3 drivers out there, of course, in the iFL, get your buttocks into the Super Formulas. Download it and start getting some practice in. This is the fun cars. As the Italian goes fastest of all, he's going to try to slice that 1.4 second gap to Derek Miller down. So they're getting through it, but as you said as well, my dear, James has just replaced that fastest lap again because James had the fastest lap in P7. He's not doing too much about this man right now in P6. You can see James just in the background there, but they're all pretty even Stevens on those times. They're all, well, the top 4 in the 16 club and James, and then the rest of them the 17s and 18 club.
Doodly Doodler saying, how did Mackenzie get past Marion? Well, Marion hasn't had the pace that we've seen in previous races, and I think probably early doors, Mackenzie has had the edge on him. He's running about the best part of nearly half a second faster. Is Mackenzie in the 51 in comparison with Marion in the 23. So I think one of the post-race interviews I had with Marion earlier on the season, he just said, I'm here to have fun, and it's a new car for me to learn. So of course, as you get to every single different track, you're going to find that there are going to be certain obstacles you need to get past, which is finding what is going to be the right balance of speed and handling into Interlagos. And James Miller again just lighting up the timesheets purple. Well, he did go, well, the thing is Schlegel's actually expanded that gap briefly. The main reason being Schlegel's just done a 16.9, Miller's just done a 17.1. Erik Magnusson in 9th position has just done an 18.2. Mackenzie Roon nearly makes a bit of a mistake, but he's still got about 1.9 seconds between himself and Marin Barbiero, who's got Hannes Schlegel closing. They were pretty equal on pace on the previous lap, but I think Schlegel's using a bit more of that push to pass at the moment. The Inten flat-out racing number 90. You can just see how close they're getting to one another now as well in the latter part of the lap. And this is going to be the opportunity through Magulo into the likes of Chungsao at turn 12, where he can really start ramping up the pace, be a little bit deeper onto the brakes, but not too deep because you don't want to lock up the front tyres.
And I just wanted to we'll touch back quickly what you said about that overtake that Doodley said out there. That was at the start of the race. I was kind of looking at any of the highlights here, but that's where Marion got past him. As here. Mackenzie got past, actually. Didn't he? Must have been at the start of the race, because I can't see any overtakes anywhere else.
Yeah, it would have been at the start phase, because Marion got a really good traction on the first stage, but the second phase of the start, we're going to have a look at the start again, just for Doodly Doodler's perspective. So Mackenzie doesn't get a good launch off the line. He loses 2 positions off the start, but it's the second part of the start where he really starts to get a bit of traction. So he's closing in on the likes of, I think that was Jacob up front, Jacob Beasler, and then you got one of the, I think that's Schlegel just in front of him. So going down the Reta Aposta, so Marion Barbiero at this point is second or third. I think he was third at the time. So it's when everyone runs wide out of Desida de Largo, and there is Mackenzie. He's going to get through on, he's going to possibly get through on Schlegel. So he makes the move, well, he tries to make the move up through into turn 6 at Ferradura and then La Regina into turn 8, so it's going to be on the opening lap.
Yeah, I was just wondering where it is, because Marion's up in, what, P3 or something? You could probably just...
P4 behind
P4,
Iliano at the moment, yeah.
There's my lone pine tree. Still on the helicopter.
All it needs is some Christmas decorations. A
fold-up chair there with a pina colada. Perfect viewing area for the race.
Another one for Fernando Alonso.
Exactly. Where is this overtake coming? It must be coming up soon, because I don't know. I guess it didn't come up from race control then.
No, I think Marion had made a bit of a mistake that possibly. Well, we did have the drama when Jacob went off and hit the barriers. So we'll have the moment here when. Well, there's a bit of a lock up there. So this is where. Right, that's one position. So that's Schlegel he's just got past through at Curva del Sol. Now he's going to look. Now he's going to try and thread the eye of the needle.
Oh, that's a bit of nasty
that
blocking.
Was when we were seeing the ducking and diving and weaving.
Yeah. And
he's going to go towards the inside and gets the acceleration zone out of turn 4, through at turn 5 of the exit of Desida de Largo. So that's through on. I think it was Jacob Beaser at that time, because Jacob actually qualified higher up than Frank, and they both have ended up out of the race. So we still have 9 out of the 11 starters. So I think it's probably over the opening couple of laps. So we'll just stick with it at the moment.
Yeah, we have a little bit of time to let everybody know, because most of the drivers are still within shy of a second of each other for the live race. So we're not missing much on the live race action. This is quite entertaining, because we didn't get to see all of this from the race start.
Yeah, so I think unless Marion possibly got a slowdown, maybe, who knows, but we're going to see now that Mackenzie's going to be closing on the cars in front. So this is probably where we're going to see the accident with Jacob, as Gianluca Iliano has dropped behind Hannes Schlegel and James Miller in the meantime, whilst we're concentrating on this.
Oh, they have? I'll go back and have a look at the replay of that one. Sorry.
Yeah, which we'll have a look back in just a second, so I'll keep an eye on that whilst we're...
Oh, that's because Ilana's gone off track, but yeah, we'll get you that, don't worry. We're still committed to finding out what happened here. Only because you asked there, Doodly, too, and of course you ask, you get here on the JP Broadcast Network. Yeah, because we had the drama with Jacob, so it's effectively on the first part of lap 3. So yeah, Doodly, Mackenzie's getting plenty of screen time at the moment. Yeah. So there is still plenty of this race left to run, as it is getting closer between Larson and Miller in the meantime. He's going to have to do this soon. No, sorry, we're going to have to come back to the live pitch. We gave you plenty of time to get the job done, anyway. Yeah, so here is Hannes Schlegel versus James Miller up the inside through the centre S's, and he does a textbook of what he did to one of the other drivers a little bit earlier on. So that's James Miller now back up into 5th position, 1 position away from where he qualified. He switches to the inside of the Reta Aposta to close off Hannes Schlegel into the Desida de Largo. Now downhill, I still remember when Ayrton Senna back in '94, when he recently signed, when he at that point had just signed for Williams. Brazilian Grand Prix at that point was very early in the season, and put the traction down a little bit too hard, and then spun around, and then the car ended up not wanting to fire back up, and then he would promptly retire from that race. But yeah, Hannes Schlegel now finds himself down in 6th position. Let's go back and have a look at the replay, what happened with the Italian driver. Yeah, I remember that Australia used to be the last race of the season. I loved it. I used to love it when Brazil used to be the last race of the season. Of course, they don't have oil money anymore, do they?
No, it's
So,
normally...
here we go.
Yeah, so Iliano, this is going to be into Cedar de Largo, out of turn 4. Oh, tank slapper. And that was a bit like Kimi Räikkönen back in 2012 when he, what was it, Yasmarini said, leave me alone, I know what I'm doing. The Brazilian Grand Prix was after that, and I think that was the escape road that Kimi went down.
Oh, that's right. He was trying to go down the other one, wasn't it? No, there was.
He was. He turned right instead of left. This is Erik Magnusson.
Yeah, that's at the corner called the that's called the amateur. I think it's called that's called the rookie corner. That's what that is. That's what in Portuguese it means. That's where you make a mistake as a rookie driver.
Yeah, the Bica de Pato, I think, if I remember correctly, it's turn 10. So, but yeah, Hannes Schlegel still keeping pace with James Miller, who does have the fastest lap of the race. We're on lap 13 lap 14 out of 47. So. Still plenty of opportunities in this race for these drivers to undercut, overcut when it comes to the pit lane strategy. Of course, 2 drivers out, the remainder of the field still running.
How long do you think it'll be before James may be able to catch Mario? Because James has effectively been quickest driver for most of the last few laps, which is we saw he had the fastest lap. They kept replacing the fastest lap, and it took him a bit, obviously, to catch Schlegel, but he eventually did it. And he, was chipping away. Now look at that 1.7. Let's see if he can chip away at Marion, because then again, Marion is in the 16 club, and for 16.86, 16.49 these two.
Well, I mean that's about 0.2 of a second between Barbiero in 4th and James Miller in 5th. So if Miller gets, starts doing like 1:16.6s and Barbiero stays on a 1:16.9, then that's about, give or take, 0.3 of a second. So that could probably put him within firing line of getting past the Romanian in about the next 5 to 6 laps, I would hazard a guess. But that gap's now expanding. In peaks and troughs, it's going under 1.5 seconds for the first time in a couple of laps. So I think James is looking a little bit more racy in some of the sectors. James was actually quicker by nearly 0.3 in sector 2. He's quicker by 1/10 in sector 3. So what he does now is rather crucial.
I'm just wondering if I can pull up the graphic for you. Yeah, I can. So you can see the battle between them, as in each of those laps and what they're doing in between it. So you can see lap 13 took a big chunk out.
Yeah, 9/10.
Yeah, but you see, but the overall average, you got that, almost a bit of a chunk taken out on the opposite end from Marion on that last one. That's about 7/10 almost taken out. So gaining, and losing. These drivers, well, you have to give it to... James has used a lot of his push to pass as well. Really, so I'm going to show you that. We have that information in telemetry. I have it up here. It actually gives us a whole overall number. But I don't know how many seconds it is, because it's a whole, probably in milliseconds or something. But we'll have a look to see. You can't really see it on your steering wheel until he starts deploying it.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna. Yeah, I think. I do have the push to pass, and at the moment, the driver with the least amount
Can
of
you
it
figure
is,
it out?
well, I mean, I can tell by the fact of how many figures there are left. It's not too. Let's just put it this way: it's not 200 seconds that we see, but at the moment, Mackenzie Roode, who's just put in the fastest lap of the race.
So pit stops.
Oh, right. Marion Barbiero, with 30 laps to go, dives into pit lane. So I'm wondering, has he decided to go for a shorter... Well, unless he's decided to do the undercut. Now, this paid dividends for him earlier on in the season. But at the minute, James Miller is the one that now has the least amount of push to pass available.
Did you see how he... Yeah. Sorry, did you see how he had to go around the cone too? That's why that cone's there. You can't go straight through that. You've got to go around it. Go ahead, sorry. Cut you off.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. The good thing is with the push to pass, it actually... I hate to think what value that's in. I mean, it would be easy just to have it in seconds.
I think it's in like, because it's coding, it's in some sort of like, milliseconds or something like that.
Gobbledygook.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised. Who was it? We've had some of the racing drivers in the past year that have not used it at all. I can't remember who that was just dominating, of course. I think that was this man, actually. I think it was Mario in one race, didn't he? So far up the road, he didn't even need to, he's like, I didn't even use it or something.
I think it was Hungary. Yeah, it was Hungary that he cantered away into the distance, and it was, because he won at Hungary, he won at Spain. I think it was Spain. I think it was both. Yeah, Hungary was where he really put it to good use. Spain, it was sort of like, again, the amount of times that we've seen him that he does this great job of lining up in his grid position and then just absolutely doing a proper test launch. And it's a bit like, say, in any single-seater series, but also in the top tier of karting, which is KZ and KZ2, that as part of their final, through their qualifying session, the last thing that they get to do is they're actually able to do a practice start, whereby they just really gauge.
That's right, he did that too, didn't he? He was the only one that did it, that deliberately did a practice start. And Dooley says that he didn't use it in Hungary. Thanks for verifying that. Yeah, but using that practice start, I think that was very, very clever, because it's surprising the other drivers didn't do that, because race starts, you can win and lose a race from your race starts.
Yeah, exactly. Now we're going to see how close Frederick Larson gets to the tyre barrier as well. The closest person I've seen to that so far was James Miller a few laps ago. He was literally within a tyre's width of that tyre barrier and could have nearly have ended up pinballing off it, taking wheels and upright suspensions. New fastest lap by James Miller, 1 minute 16.420. Hannes Schlegel is currently using his push to pass as we speak as well. The Austrian currently sitting in 5th place, having started 7th. And there is the push to pass being activated.
Oh, damn it. He stopped it just in time for us to see the time.
I did see it blink a couple of times there, Dean.
Yeah, see if you can catch one for me, actually, next time, and we can get an idea how much they have left.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye out. Yeah. There's no sort of... It's basically like the IndyCar push to pass. You can use a lot of displacement on it. Deploying it, and Mackenzie Roon has got the lowest amount of push to pass at the minute. Second to that is Hannes Schlegel. There's Mackenzie Roon. Let's see if he's going to be using it. He might do so now, coming out of Jean-Saul through the Sobidas boxes.
If he's listening to us, maybe he will.
Maybe he might, maybe he won't.
The pit lane entrance is just crazy here. It's so scary, of course, and it's easy to speed into. It's kind of like Italy, but the opposite side, isn't it? In Monza, where you go flying in high speed.
Yeah, and you've got to be very, very careful you don't lock up the fronts and then end up breaking this pit lane speed limit. They get a drive-through penalty as a direct result. But I think some of the drivers are being a bit more tactical. Hannes Schlegel was just using in the background there, ever so briefly. I just saw it flash off and then come back on again.
What do you think about? I like it. I mean, of course, and I think IndyCar is better at it than Formula 1 DRS. I think we've always said that. The DRS of Formula 1 should be similar. Like, you can only use it so many times, and you can also use it to defend and things like that. So, of course, in the DRS lane. So that would be good if it was limited usage, and any time, not just being a second. But what do you think also about, like, when they go on a pit road? If they go on a pit lane, then kind of like fueling, because they do fueling. But, you're allowed to, it tops you up a little bit more of your push past time, for example. Every time you box, so you might get a little bit more time, of course. That way, if you want to take 3 pit stops or 4 pit stops during the race, if you're bold and brave, you could get yourself a nice full tank of push to pass.
Yeah, well, I think by doing that... Oh, right, Derek Miller has just gone quickest of anybody in the meantime. 1 minute 16.4. James Miller has just gone quicker, and he's just done a 1:16.1. It's on for Derek Miller right now. He's absolutely flying. Is the number 9 from the USA. But so is Derek Miller. So we've got a trio of Americans rounding out the top 4 with Miller, Roon, and Miller. They're covered by about 8.3 seconds at this moment as we're on to...
I think, if you look... Are we right that Frederick's got... to us, I'm seeing 004800. I think he's got a lot less. I think Frederick's used it a lot. I think Derek's starting to really hunt him down now by using that push to pass.
Well, it's been quite interesting because Frederick Larson hasn't had to use it that much, to be honest with you. So, from the figures that I'm seeing, the less figures, you know, the lower the figure is, the more push to pass you've used, which is, you know, from, you know, standard maths 101. You know, it's like the more they use it, the more the figure goes down. So, yeah, Mackenzie Rune's using it. Rune is using it across the start-finish line, I think, in 3rd place.
Oh, damn it. Every time we call him anyway. I need to go back to Derek here.
But yeah, I think the thing is, it is a case of just trying to use it strategically, and there is Mackenzie Rune. I'm not too sure if he was using it coming out of turn 3 at Cover de Sol. But yeah, I think, you know, with pit stops, you know, push to pass, you should only have a certain amount of activation on it. You're limited, and that's how it should be. It shouldn't be the case of, yeah, you come in for a pit stop, we'll top it up for you, mate. It's sort of like going to like at the old arcade games back in the 90s, where you used to, you know, you'd have to pay a certain amount per credit, and then if it was like you're like, do you want to continue because you'd lost all your lives, and you'd have to put in the same amount. It's that's fine for arcade games, but when it comes to motorsport, you want everyone to have the same amount of tools, you know, in the set, like the push to pass. But I think, yeah, DRS for me, I haven't always been a fan. I'd rather see people have the opportunity through different alternatives where you can up the power in the cars and go like, right, okay, I've got an opportunity to use, like, say, like when we hear in engineer to driver calls in Formula 1, like saying, okay, push to overtake. Yes. In Formula 1. So it's that's effectively a different default setting that the power units have. Whereas with this, it's sort of like, okay, that's the engine. You got to push to pass. Use it as to your strategy, how it's going to go over the race. Mackenzie Rune now has the lowest amount of push to pass available, so it's not yet depleted everything. We are now pretty much past the halfway point of this race, as our race leader is now on lap 23 out of 47. Has done over 65% of the lap here at Interlagos, but Derek Miller is closing in on him, and that gap is dwindling away. So Derek Miller is not kind of going like all guns blazing, but he's just chipping away. And in this kind of race, where we're running at 66% distance of a traditional Formula 1 Grand Prix, that is quite crucial, as Larson, I think, is going to be heading down pit lane, is he? No, he's not. But Miller is now closing in on him. So Miller is using outright pace. Haven't seen him use the deployment of the push to pass to get through on Larson. Mackenzie Rune has just gone and put in a personal best. James Miller is closing in on him to the tune of about 1/10 of a second. Hannes Schlegel is about 4.4 seconds behind 4th place. And is still running P5, but Derek Miller just seems to be like going, okay, I'm going to leave as much of the push to pass as I can, because he has got a little bit more in the tank in comparison. Well, he's got a little bit less than Frederick Larson, but he'll want to deploy that. So if Larson and Miller decide to bite the bullet, go in the pit lane at the same time, then Miller's got to be very, very careful that Larson does not have, you know, I'm not too sure if he'll know how much push to pass Larson has left, but that could be the difference between Miller getting the win and Larson getting the win today.
And this is another reason why the engineers, or at least some drivers, do like to listen to the broadcast, so we can tell them that's pit road. Oh, sometimes you think he's going to set a dummy in him. Maybe he did, and Derek committed to it anyway, so we'll see if the undercut pays off. Mackenzie's looks like he's going down a pit road as well. No, he's just passing him, of course, down the main straight. That's the thing, too. I was going to say, that's probably the reason why Mackenzie Rune was actually burning up a lot of his push to pass, because he knows that James is flying up his tailpipe right now. And so he's trying to get that gap as much as possible, and hoping 23 laps remaining will be enough to hold off. But essentially, he's been the fastest man on the track so far.
Yeah, Schlegel's in the pits at the moment as well. Derek Miller, 7.5 second pit stop. Marian Barbiero, his pit stop was 6.85 seconds, and he's going to be very much on the case of getting. Well, he's ahead of Schlegel, who's now coming out of pit road. So there is Barbiero. Schlegel now exits pit lane, can put the hammer down. And so 7.1, so just under 7.2 seconds for Hannes Schlegel in the pit lane. So Marian Barbiero with the quickest pit stop so far. But the
Horrible
rest
cameras here, sorry.
Yeah, Magnusson now pits from, well, it looks to be the, so Erik Magnusson.
Oh, here we go. Here's our leader.
So
Larson
Larson now
fire
pits.
this camera, people. There we go.
Okay, now Miller is going to be coming across the line.
Rune's coming in.
Rune's coming in. Miller's coming in. Iliano, will he be in very, very shortly? Because it looks to be, this could be the sweet spot. Yep, Iliano is in. That is going to put Miller in.
Oh, he missed his box a little bit.
Oh, dearie me.
Did.
So, yeah, that is going to put Miller into the race lead. So how long was Larson in the pits for? 8.3 seconds. Mackenzie Rune is going to come out in third. James Miller fourth. Gianluca Iliano still in the pit lane. He's going to lose out to Barbiero. Yeah, there is Marion.
So how much does that cost Frederick? Quite well. They're going to come back out again, of course. So, yeah, I think Frederick by stopping, I mean, look at those times. Look at that. 8.3 seconds compared to the man behind him right now. 7.5. And it's game on.
Yeah, Miller's looking round into turn 8 at Esse into Pinarino here at turn 9 before Bico de Pato. It's going to be very, very close indeed. I think Miller's going to wait until they get through out of the exhibition tower at turn 12 in order to use his push to pass. And this is going to be the opportunity he's going to need. But Larson's going to make sure he keeps on the racing line and make that the back end of that number 7 car as wide as humanly possible. There you go. 182, 181 seconds. Oh, Mackenzie Rune has dropped it. Mackenzie Rune drops it and loses out big time.
There you go.
Miller
Push the pass.
around the outside. Miller around the outside for the race lead and gets through on Larson down the start-finish straight into the run into the center S's on the start of lap 27. I did say Derek Miller was going to line it up after Zhou Sao, and boy, did he do that.
Let's see if Frederick's going to want to fight this one back. You better believe he will. He's leading this race the whole time. Going to be a little gut wrench to Woney about the fact that they did take about 1 second longer in the pit stop. Here we go. I was talking about, come on, gentlemen, see if you can go side by side through the whole track just to prove my point again that you can do it here at Interlagos.
And Derek's trying to oblige with that one, but he's looking for the old Nigel Mansell dummy on Frederick Larson as they go through into the infield part here at Interlagos, down the hill again. This is just absolutely enthralling. Miller, for about 4 corners, had the race lead. Larson went, no, you don't, sunshine. You're going to have to do better than that. They're going to now go through into Magulo, into Zhou Sao here at turns 11 and 12.
Don't run over my GoPro camera. Keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is all the while possibly going to give the opportunity to James Miller, who's got a 6.4 second disadvantage. If these two keep on battling the way they are now, I think Miller's got the push to pass active. He's gone around to the outside again on the start-finish straight into the center S's. Is he going to make the run round the outside? He's going to get the inside for turn 2. Yes, he does get through. And now Larson's going to get the run out of turn 2 into 3 at Curva del Sol. And again, he nearly banged wheels coming out of turn 3.
Door banging. Come on. Here we go. Side pod banging.
Oh, Larson tries to go through on Miller around the outside of turn 4 at Descida de Largo, but Miller has finally got the move completed. Larson down to second.
You know what time it is? It's Miller time, obviously. Derek Miller knows that one at the moment. We're going to go back and I know the Dooley's a little bit upset about Mackenzie having a little bit of a spinner. We will go back and have a look at that when we get a chance. This is what we love about Interlagos. This is why I was super excited. It was like, you know, they were talking obviously in the green room in this fantastic league about whether or not we're going to do a broadcast because the numbers were, well, last week they were a little low. We didn't do that. But then again, that was Coda. Coda's not exciting like Interlagos as well.
Interlagos has such a great allure of it. And look, Miller just loses a little bit of time. Larson right with him, coming out at turn number 14, out of Subida's boxes. And you can see that Miller's trying to go, he's trying to do a little bit of a shimmy there, isn't he? Just trying to put Larson off, and Larson, is he going to pull?
Not here.
He goes close to the wall. He goes close to the wall into turn 1. He forces the door open. Larson's still trying to get through. That hits the barriers, front wing off the Dane's car.
We're going to go back and have a look at that. Both of these drivers currently at the moment down the pit straight are using their burn everything you possibly have button. And that's Mackenzie Roon after that spin, trying to defend, of course, against the Italian mastermind. And let's see how that pans out. Very unfortunate, of course, with that crash. I was hoping these drivers would. They do a good wheel-to-wheel racing, wasn't it? Good door banging, but unfortunately they did come together.
I think Larson was just trying to keep it pinned around the outside of turn 2 at the center S's, and that is something you can't really do. You've got to keep yourself towards the inside. Iliano now loses out to Mackenzie Roon as we go through into La Regina into SA at turn 7 and 8. But yeah, Mackenzie just trying to keep himself in front of the Italian. So this is the battle for P4 on the road, and Frederick Larson, no surprise, has had to pit after that damage sustained. Will have had to have tripped it around. So we're going to have a look at the replay here. So Miller has got the perfect inside line for the center S's.
That's netcode.
Netcode, our little friend, makes its impact felt.
That's got to be. Look at that. I mean, that to me, you look at the distance that they had between them. I mean, let's go quarter speed.
It was like half a car width.
Yeah.
You know, as they turned into turn 2.
Look at that. I mean, look at that. There's no back. Yeah.
Bang, and then left front takes a wallop, so the left front's completely wrecked. And yeah, that could be Frederick's race done and dusted on lap 28 out of, well, lap 29 out of 47.
I want to have a look on board for a second, because that's going to give us the best indication of this. Look, slow this down again for a second. Sorry. Very hard to find out all the buttons. Here we go. So yeah, this is Frederick, and you can see enough space is allowed, and there. He didn't. Now, to me, there was enough space there. That's coming down to netcode.
Yeah. In the meantime, Iliano has got back through on Mackenzie Roon for 4th place. So chopping and changing of these two at the moment. So it's going through down Reta Posta into Descida de Largo, and Iliano just throws the Hail Mary. But I think Mackenzie Roon was very wise on that front. He thought, well, he's got a little bit of overspeed on me. He's right in my slipstream. I'm not going to fight this because I don't want to lose potential points like we've just seen with Frederick. So, and the thing was, it was a great side by, you know, it's a great battle between Frederick and Derek.
There you go, overtake on. Sorry to cut you off, and I want to have a look at that steering wheel for a second and see how much
he's going to be out.
He's out
to pass. Mackenzie Roon has got to do it all with just the 2-litre inline 4 turbo engine for the next, 16 laps? 17 laps including this one.
And this is why, unfortunately, he had dropped down those places, and he's lost it. Oh, that was very lucky not to get collected. What was that? Into what turn was that?
That was possibly, was that turn 3?
Have a look. Sorry. Go back a little bit. We got time. Yeah, no,
right,
that's
that was Mergulo. That was Mergulo. He lost it out of turn 11. So out of Bico de Pato, through turn 10, guns it, hits the inside curbing, and it spin. The axles swap ends. So Mackenzie Roon has got to do this on pure pace. No push to pass available. So yeah, Mackenzie Roon is the first of the drivers that have used all their push to pass in this race. So he is going to find himself at a little bit of a big detriment to Gianluca Iliano, who last time around was nearly a second quicker. The gap now is 0.8. So
well, with 16 laps to go now, I mean, you know, it's non-refundable. You're not getting it back. You might as well use it. Remember, he also used quite a bit early to defend against this attack.
Yes.
Remember? So he had to do that, and of course, and he did defend against that attack. He got himself up the road. That little mistake cost him to lose his place back again. So now, but remember, she on pace. He's got the pace, so Roon can get it done. But Iliano doesn't really make too. Well, Iliano did make a mistake actually early in this race too. Remember, so it is possible. You've got to stick with it here at the moment and do put the pressure on the Italian.
Yeah, I think just consistency, you know, just being like a metronome, just banging the laps and being consistent on those lap times. Mackenzie Roon on that last lap actually did a 1:16.4, so even without the push to pass, Mackenzie has a yardstick to measure himself against, and that's the driver in front, Gianluca Iliano. They were probably about just over half a tenth of a second apart on pure lap pace, so 16.41 for Iliano, 16.48 for Mackenzie. So it is going to be, yeah, well, Mackenzie's just lost 7 tenths in that third sector alone. And he's struggling with snap-on oversteer. He's putting the power down, coming out of turn number 13, and the car was not very compliant. You can see now that Schlegel is going to be closing on in to Mackenzie Runa if he's not very careful. The gap between them is about 1 3/4 seconds. But in the meantime, Derek Miller is comfortably leading the way, and it's an America 1-2 on Brazilian soil, courtesy of James Miller in the number 9, who still has some push to pass to use.
It's an American 1-2 in the Americas. Aha, there you go. South America, of course, but it's still the Americas.
Ka-ching. But I think I'm looking at it from this respect. Okay, Marian Barbieri has not used as much push to pass as the two guys in front, and we've still got 14 laps to go, including this one. So Marian Barbieri, if he starts using that push to pass, as long as he doesn't overdrive the car, could close that gap, but it depends on how quickly he's going to go, because James Miller's last lap on pure pace, folks, was a high 1 minute 16.1. Barbieri low 1 minute 16.3. So it's now about what the Romanian decides to do over the next 13 or 14 laps, give or take, to then try and close that gap.
Well, there you go.
And
Look, 4 tenths shaved out of that one. Yeah, exactly. Start using it now. You got 14 laps to go.
Yeah, exactly. He's got all the opportunity in the, to try and close that gap, as James Miller has a little bit of an off track. So he's got to be very, very careful with the X points. So if he hits, I think it's like 25 X points, then it's an automatic drive-through. So Miller's got to be very, very careful of skating over the limit, let's say. And Barbieri, might be sort of like thinking, okay, well, P3 is still a solid result, because we have to look at, his lead. He's got a 17-point lead, and the thing is, he is ahead of Mayorga, who's down in 7th. Schlegel is currently 6th. Iliano, 4th. Miller is, ahead of him on the road, but way behind him in the points. 61 points separates them. So, Marian Barbieri could be looking at points, and what do points do? They win you a championship.
You just saw the overtake there as the back marker essentially there. I think that's the last place driver at the moment. So Eric is just lowering him past there so he wasn't going to get in his way, just so they can get that battle up the road between them. Derek Miller just puts in the fastest lap, but then it was replaced immediately by the Italian driver. So I think now it's going to come down to, as in the bragging rights and who wants the extra points there for the fastest lap. Well, of course, a lot of them still had that push to pass, which we're still amazed at why they're not using it, especially this man, Marian, because he's got quite a bit in the bank there, and got to cash out, son. Especially if you want to take P2.
Yeah, because that gap's not getting any. It's not getting any smaller. It's actually getting bigger bit by bit. I mean, the gap is now 6.1 seconds. So yeah, I think sometimes it can be a little bit more. He could say, yeah, I'm going to go in all guns blazing. I'm going to go, throw caution to the wind. But a circuit like Interlagos, as we've already seen with Jacob Beezer, Frederick Larson, this circuit can bite hard. James Miller, new fastest lap of the race, 1:15.7, and it's just and Barbieri just goes 1:17.1.
This is what I said. Now it's going to be because there's a big gap, as you can see there at the moment, between all the drivers. So I think you might be very wise on that. It might not be worthwhile for these drivers to burn that push to pass, because if you do cook it, you're cooking it, and potentially you've lost those places. And practically every driver here this evening has made a little mistake somewhere along the line. So at this crucial point with 12 to go, you don't want to throw the towel in that early, do you? Settle for what you've got and collect those points at the end of the day. See Barney in one piece. And yeah, and now I said it's going to be the bragging rights for the fastest lap. And any of these drivers really could take it.
Yeah, you're very right. I think the thing is that if you overcook it, and if Miller drops the ball like he did at Hungary, not just once but twice, and still came back to finish second behind Barbiero. He had a bit of a lock-up through SA at turn 8, so there is still a chance for Barbiero just to keep his nose clean. You know, as I said, don't overdrive the car. And as I say, that Malaya just puts in a 16.0 like it was nothing. Still running P2, but the gap between him and Derek Miller is now 4.2 seconds. I mean, Derek having a bad run of luck at Barcelona, which was the race before Circuit of the Americas, where he got involved. Well, he was the unfortunate participant, let's say, in an incident through turn 2 where someone went off wide and Derek got turned around and then slammed into the barriers quite hard. But now to come back and fight at the sharp end of the field is what we've been waiting to see. And you know, to be that far ahead, I think it's now about conservation. It really is about now, you know, you look at the schedule that we've got coming up. After this, we've got a 2-week respite until Belgium on the 2nd of March. Then we've got San Marino, Austria, Canada, Japan, Italy, and then the Dutch Grand Prix. And then that is the season. So there's, you know, we're now going to see a moment here for Erik Magnusson in the number 16, 016 Limousine Motorsports, and he's done it again.
But he's waiting, and of course it doesn't really worry him at this point because he is last, so nothing with there. And he's Swedish as well too, my friend, so they're cool, calm and collective. You know, the Scandinavians are like, they're like, nah, it's okay.
Yeah.
But I like also the fact that they're sticking into this. One's going to go on pit road, but they're sticking with it because, hey, this is practice. Like, every single lap you're doing is practice. So it's another good thing. But going back to that one, there was one of those races on the JP Broadcasting Network. I can't remember which one, but it was actually a Scandinavian driver as well. And he just went quicker and quicker at the end. No need. He had a comfortable lead, and then did make a mistake there. Crashed into the wall and lost that win. An easy win. So, yeah, if you're risking it for the biscuit, you got to be very careful.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I tend to say as well, Dean, that you always get the sense of urgency and then you get the sense of desperation. And sometimes when you're desperate to hold on to that race lead, like we saw with Frederick Larson earlier on in the race, and of course, yes, our good friend Mr. Netcode got in the way, that's when you know that if it's earlier on in the season, you know that you've got a longer process to get to the end of the championship. But when it gets closer and closer to like those last 3 races, that's when you don't want to make the mistakes. As Gianluca Iliano, new fastest lap on lap 38 out of 47, 1:15.716, and he's closing that gap to Marian Barbiero by the best part of about a second a lap at the moment, isn't he?
Yes, and maybe we'll see if otherwise he's got to start using that push to pass perhaps, because this is a little bit more, now you can see the car. This is maybe, as you said, more about that desperation, right, thing creeping in. If you start seeing that car and you go, 9 laps, it is possible. And the thing is, what I want to be doing is I want to get my car filling his rear mirrors so that he then can force Marian into a mistake. That's the psychological games you have to play at this point right now, because clearly matching on pace is not going to be enough time if Marian just continues to put in the similar lap times that he's doing now. So you've got to do that psychological awful. And on top of it, remember, as I said, it's going to be bragging rights for the fastest lap. And I'm wondering if Derek or James out there are going to respond soon and start putting the fastest lap. It's a 15.8, Derek. Let's see how the Italian driver puts in when he gets across the line.
Yeah, Malaya's gone down again on the push to pass. He's using it now. He's actually deploying as we speak. As he's, I think, was just heading down the Retta Posta as Gianluca Iliano makes his way out of turn 3 at Cover de Sol. So let's see if he decides to use a little bit of push to pass. I haven't seen anything yet, but James Malaya is absolutely hemorrhaging push to pass at the moment. So he is trying to do his damnedest to close in on Derek Miller. The gap now down to 3.9 seconds and closing. And Malaya's out of push to pass. That's another driver that has used all of their push to pass. So I'm now seeing where it starts with like 1-0, and then when it gets to 6, as soon as they go under 6, it's like, that's it, job's done, your push to pass is gone. So
I have a question. Sorry. Oh, look at that steering elevation angle. As we're riding on board the cockpit right now, as you can obviously see from Iliano. But you see the light next to the, obviously, the Cosworth on the steering wheel, the blue one. It's blue, but it goes purple at some points. Can anybody out there as racing drivers, can you explain why that is changing? I'm just curious. It's not a rev limiter, that's for sure. The rev's on the top. We can't see that.
That could be the fact that the push to pass is ready to deploy, and I have seen it go purple on some cases as Iliano now makes his way into the center S's. Barbiero sets the personal best, so James Blair, last lap around was his fastest lap of the race was 1:15.733. His last lap was 6/1000 slower. Now that gap has stabilised between him and Derek Miller as we're on lap 41 out of 47. So I think it could be about what Iliano does now. So he's got less push to pass in comparison with Barbiero, but you can see on board from the in-cockpit camera how far ahead Barbiero is, and it's not that far.
It's 2 seconds, yeah. Look at that, 1.9, and he's got 7 laps, so it is very much possible. We know that the Italian stallion can get the job done. This is interesting. I think you're absolutely right about that steering wheel. I think it's blue, it's available. The only thing I'm a little disappointed with iRacing is that they don't actually show you the fingers, your hands going off and pushing the button. They even do that in the Formula 1 game. That's a game. Here we go. Overtake on.
So now 83 seconds still left to go. So there's plenty for Iliano to deploy. So yeah, he's going to use it. Well, he uses it until going across the start-finish line. New fastest lap, 1 minute 15.645. Wow. Gap now down to 1.1, and I think Barbiero might be struggling because that gap now is down to 0.8 of a second and closing. And there we go again. Barbiero not using the push to pass, but I think there was a slight deployment. I did see a brief moment where that green light flashed off when Iliano deployed the push to pass onto lap 42.
And traffic as well. Now. Traffic up the road, remember.
Oh, now this could be an absolute godsend for Iliano to get past Barbiero for a podium. Now this could also close the gap between Moller and Barbiero in terms of the championship lead. And coming into this round, into round 4.
This is going to be good. This is going to be good for Murray because he's going to be catching the lap car up the road. Probably get a little nice tow from him, actually. It's a perfect place, actually, to catch a car, isn't it? Just get a tow all the way down the main straightaway. Perfect, and he'll have no problems taking him into the center S's. So there it is. So that'll work out brilliantly. And Will Italiano, he'll get a little bit of a tow, but it could have compromised him a little bit there.
Yeah, well, Barbiero nearly loses the back end coming out of the first part of the center S's. There is Iliano. Now is the chance for the Italian to strike. He pulls to the outside, down the Retta Posta, and Iliano is using his push to pass. Barbiero using it to defend through into Desida de Largo. Iliano to the outside of turn number 4, through into turn 5. The Romanian holds his ground. It's still very much game on for P3. I think that is Arturo Mayorga just behind them. Into Ferradura, now into La Regina, through into SA at turn 8. Iliano and Barbiero were using their push to pass at exactly the same point, down out of turn 3, out of the Cover de Sol, and onto the Reta Posta. So still with this, plus 4 more laps to go, we have got an absolute dogfight on our hands for the final step on the podium between Marian Barbiero from Romania and from Italy, Gianluca Iliano, as they come out of Subida boxes once again as we go on to lap 44 out of 47. 4 to go.
Yeah, here we go, Alex. This is where we thought at some point it got a little like Formula 1 kind of esque in the stages of the race where you can have a little bit of a lay down and a snooze, but you can't right now. You do not want to look away because the Italian is going to put the massive amount of pressure on the Romanian. Buonasera for the Romanian there of Marian. And I don't know what you say to say hello. I'm coming for you right now in Italian. Here we go.
I think Avanti is probably what I would say right about now. But look up the inside. Iliano through at turn 5. I think he's got the job done on the ramp down to Ferradura. Gianluca Iliano actually was starting to deploy the push to pass halfway through Curva de Sol. Incredible incredible anticipation by the number 11 from Italy, and he gets through on Mario Barbiero on lap 44 out of 47. Miller and Miller still about 4.5 seconds apart from each other. And Iliano doing an absolutely sterling job, and now he's starting to pull away. He could use the push to pass to get past. So here's the replay through out of turn 4 into the Descida del Lago. Textbook from the Italian. Barbiero gave him racing room, and there he goes up the inside through turn 5 and gets the move completed very quickly.
Yeah, went defensive right there too. Stuck with the middle of the line there. He went off the racing line just a tad, just so that he couldn't get the Arian the opportunity to fight back on that one. Brilliant, brilliant racing. That's what we love. And we had that brilliant racing before, but obviously, fortunately, that was definitely what we thought netcode was. A little bit of a snap on Marion there behind for a second. But, yeah, Marion not going to have enough time, I don't think, at this point to get the job done. Nothing. This man should really have to worry about Derek. Well, it would have been lovely to see Derek obviously continue that battle, wasn't it, with Frederick through the end there, but we don't know as we do know. We're going to talk, obviously, too, hopefully to Derek about that later on, as Frederick actually then responds by getting a 14.8 on your dial. Tuned into that one.
Hold the phone. Frederick Larson still has pace for days. 1:14.978, the new fastest lap on lap 44 out of, well, 43 in his case, because he went a lap down after that front wing and suspension damage. But Derek Miller has 2 more laps to go. Next time around, it will be Barney, the flag marshal, waving the white flag here at the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache at Interlagos.
And look at the last lap that Derek did. Of course, he doesn't have to put the pace in there, but he did a 16.25. And then Frederick, of course, who was battling with him at the start of this race, was a 14.98. Imagine if that was, in this case right now, they're battling for the lead of this one. Could Derek hold off at that point? That would be so much fun, but unfortunately, we're not going to see it.
Yeah, it's the woulda, coulda, shoulda situation on that one there, Biggles. But yeah, Derek Miller absolutely has done everything right. Lost the lead initially to Frederick Larson, battled away until we saw the netcode incident through turn 2 off of the Senna S's, heading into the Cover del Sol. But the number 56 has done everything absolutely right.
Are you kidding me?
And now it's the 14.8, a high 14.8 from Frederick Larson. As now Derek Miller comes out of turn 12 at Jungsal through turn 13 into the Subida dos boxes, and now it's going to be the white flag. Lap 47 now gets going as Barney, the flag marshal, on the start-finish straight, waves the white flag. Just under 2.7 miles to go. Derek Miller about to take the win here for round 5 of the iFormula League Super Formula Series. He's not put a foot wrong. He's been in the right place at the right time. Didn't make a mistake on the pit box. It's been absolutely exemplary.
Yeah, brilliant drive, of course, and good hard battling fighting as well too. So it wasn't just handed him on a silver spoon. He had to earn it, and at the moment you probably see him short shifting a little bit here, playing it safe. Big smile on his face, no doubt, and we'll hopefully to hear from Derek at this point. He just wants to bring this one home, doesn't he? At this point, he's not gonna, there's no way I don't think anybody would risk trying to take that 14.9 fastest lap away from Frederick. Because Derek just wants to see Barney at least 4.1 seconds ahead of his closest rival on the track, which is James, of course, his fellow countryman.
Yep, so round 5 of the iFormula League Super Formula Series at the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache comes to its inevitable conclusion. As out of turn 13, through Subida's boxes for the final time, turn 14 and turn 15, flat out to the floor is going to be the number 56. Derek Miller takes the win here in South America by a comfortable margin. It's going to be to the tune of just over 4 seconds. There's the checker being waved. James Miller 4.0 seconds behind, and it's going to be another podium for Italy's Gianluca Iliano, who got the jump on Marion Barbiero with just a handful of laps to go. They round out the top 4. Mackenzie Roon could have been on the podium after had he not had a massive mistake earlier on in the race. He finishes 5th. Arturo Mayorga in 7th. There's Hannes Schlegel in the number 90. He's making his way out towards the final part of the circuit. The Austrian has been at the sharper end of the field in other races, but he's going to have to round it off in P6. Frederick Larson's going to take 8th, and Eric Magnusson will take 9th, but Schlegel comes across the line, and that is that, folks. Derek Miller takes an emphatic win.
Do you know what was surprising as well, too? Is that looking at the statistics that we have up here, of course, is that Marion didn't burn all those other drivers had used, really. I mean, apart from Derek, he didn't need to use it at the end, but Marion didn't burn through all of his push to pass, even in that battle that he had with Iliana, which I was surprised because, you know, you're wondering at the end of the day, like, you're not getting a refund on it. Why did it deploy a little bit more?
Well, Derek Miller actually has the most amount of push to pass left of anybody by a comfortable margin. And are we going to see some donuts possibly?
You can, but you get a fine. It's not Formula One. Go ahead and go for it there, Derek.
Yeah, give us some donuts. There we go. Derek Miller celebrating in the number 56 in emphatic fashion on the start-finish straight here at Interlagos, winning round 5 of the season. The next round coming up will be on the 2nd of March in a few weeks' time, actually 3 weeks, at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps in the Ardennes Forest in Belgium on March 2nd. But Miller takes it by just under 4.1 seconds. James Millet in 2nd position. Gianluca Iliano rounds out the top 3 ahead of Marion Barbiero. Mackenzie Roon, Hannes Schlegel, Arturo Mayorga, Frederick Larson, and Eric Magnussen round out the finishing order. And unfortunately, earlier on in the race, we lost both the Beezers. Frank with 43 laps to go and Jacob with 45 to go. So what we're going to do now is we're going to head down to the interview room and hopefully speak to a couple of the drivers.
Absolutely.
Right, so we're down in the interview booth, ready to speak to a couple of the drivers. So let's see if we can pull in our race winner for round 5 of the season. Let's see if we can bring in our winner, the number 56 of Derek Miller. Well, Derek, how's about that? Well done, congrats.
Yeah, I can't complain. I didn't know what my pace was going to be. I didn't practice before this morning. But qualifying went well, and the race ending well, at least.
You had a really, really good battle with Frederick Larson until that unfortunate incident for him coming out of the Senna S's. To go wheel to wheel at Interlagos is a really exciting feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. There's not a lot of opportunities to pass, and it's easy to block most of the opportunities. I'm not actually sure what. I didn't know he was on the outside of me there that lap. But, you know, I don't want battles to end that way. But it was a good battle with him. There was a lot of back and forth. After the pit stop, I thought I had thrown it away. But I was able to come back at him.
Yeah, and now this puts you on another win for this, you know, another win of the season. You took one at Kota last week. That's a good run of momentum, isn't it, at this point of the season?
Yeah, hopefully I can keep this momentum going. I'm not sure what tracks are up next, but I'm going to do my best to show up with pace and see what happens.
Yeah, well, we got Spa in on March 2nd, so that's going to be a true test in these Super Formula cars. But yeah, like we say, you know, James actually ran out of push to pass with quite a few laps to go, and we actually found that you were the one that used the least amount of push to pass. So once you'd had that battle with Frederick, you know, you managed to get away into the distance. It wasn't so much of a formality because Interlagos is a demanding track, but you know, what are going to be the biggest challenges in 3 weeks on March 2nd going to the iconic Spa-Francorchamps circuit?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't run this car at Spa much, but so far these tires seem to be temperature sensitive. And with Spa, it's, you know, you want to just keep the temps down as low as you can because it gets snappy when the tires get hot. And that's what I was struggling with after the battle there halfway through, just keeping up the pace and not making mistakes because I was locking the rears a lot. And you know, it was a bit touch and go there with the warm tires. But with Spa, I think it'll be managing tire temps and then just going quick.
Brilliant. Well, Derek, congratulations on the W here today at Interlagos for round 5, and we'll see you in 3 weeks' time on March 2nd.
Thank you.
Just looking at this right now, and there. We've looked at this from so many different angles now, haven't we? That was complete and utter netcode. You can see that completely destroyed Paul Frederick's car. So, yeah, I mean...
Exactly. But great to speak to Derek and find out from the race winner. You know what? I'm going to pull in James Miller, our runner-up, who had his fair share of dramas, but still managed to bring back home a pretty good P2. James Miller, good to have you with us, buddy. Topsy-turvy race again for another one this season, wasn't it? But you still managed to round it up with a P2.
Yeah, probably the least topsy-turvy one I've managed in this car. So one spin and kept it relatively clean from then on. Not the fastest, but felt like I was putting down some consistent laps.
You look at the spin that we're looking at right now. You're so lucky you're right in the middle, because two cars go, one on the outside, one on the here. And clever enough, you stayed just a little bit there. You waited for him. We're looking at the slow motion, and then you of course moved on the track. And then you at this point you're like, there's no way I'm going to be P2, is there?
No, that wasn't the first thing that crossed my mind. I said I had a Lumos teammate in the chat with me, Jake Potts, and he'll tell you all I said was, "Don't hit me, don't hit me, don't hit me." So that was all I was thinking at that point. But no, it was. We've done it before. We saw it at where were we in Hungary, where I came from like 14 seconds down, and I just don't think about it. Just put down laps, and see what happens.
It is that old adage of dust yourself, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and just get on with the task at hand. But I think you were, we did see a couple of drivers lose their push to pass. I mean, use their push to pass quite significantly. You being one of them. I think the second driver, because Mackenzie Roon had used his up quicker than anybody else. And then we saw that Hannes, Marian, and Derek were the only three drivers that still had push to pass to go. It's very, very interesting, the strategies where you go a bit hell for leather and you decide, well, I've got this push to pass. I'll use it for as much as I can to get as close as I can. And we were sort of like seeing the lap times between you and Derek sort of like swap a little bit in terms of deltas. And we were like thinking, God, he could get closer. He could get closer. He's got time, and then we just saw it run out, and we were like, "Oh man!" It's just one of those. It's one of those things. But still, to get a solid second place at a very, very challenging circuit in Interlagos is still a good way to round out the day, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Very pleased. It's a lot of fun. The first lap I turned was at 45 minutes before the race, and had to sort of piece together setup and just see what happens. So you learned as you went on. Push to pass for an entire lap wasn't fast for me, because of course you're carrying more speed and it changes your brake points, and I just wasn't prepared for that. I tried to use it to get the overcut on Marion a little bit when he pit. I wanted to put as much gap as I could on that next lap, and then at the end just kind of use it for fun. So it was a good race.
Brilliant. Thoughts about Spa on March 2nd, because that's the next track we're going to, another fearsome one that everyone knows through Formula One and GT World Challenge. It's going to be a true test of these super Formula cars, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yep, we're real excited for it, and thank y'all for the broadcast. It was a lot of fun as always.
Anyone else you want to give a shout out to before we let you go, James?
No, we're good. Just everybody at Knox, Lumos, of course Alex Shanna, the fearless leader of the group, and Jake Potts on the back surgery. Wishing him a quick recovery so he can get back behind the wheel.
Brilliant. James Miller, second place in the race. Well done. Thanks for chatting to us, buddy, and we'll see you in 3 weeks.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Cheers.
Yeah, so I was having to go back and look at the replay of that one. That was when Mackenzie made that little bit of mistake, remember?
Oh,
and that was you did see that? That's like, remember, I just played that one again. And of course, James was well aware of that, because he also made that similar mistake himself. But very lucky that Mackenzie was with the momentum going backwards, otherwise it could have come together. As we knew in the chat there, that Doodley wasn't too happy to see Mackenzie do that. But Mackenzie, kind of fought his way back quite well and had a bit of work to do.
Yeah, got back to P5. Well, let's go to our final interview. We're going to get our final driver on the final step of the rostrum. Let's bring in Gianluca Iliano. Gianluca, good afternoon. or good evening, I should say. It is getting to that point there over in Italy, but another podium. Great battle with Marion in the dying stages. You got through at turn 5 at Descida de Largo. A bit of a difficult race as well, because Interlagos is not easy. We've already talked with Derek and James about that already.
Yeah, it was definitely a fun evening, like lovely battles with both Mackenzie and Marion. And yeah, it's a tough track, one of the hardest races, definitely, but also one of the most fun races that I've had in a while. There was a lot of battles on track.
And I'm just going to cut in real quick on that one, Alex, sorry, because another driver that had a spin earlier in the race, I think it was on lap 12 or something, but fought your way back through the field there. Like, once again, difficult track, isn't it? But you didn't give up.
Yeah, I was so bummed out, and honestly, for the first few laps after the spin, I was feeling kind of like not having it anymore, but then I gained some confidence, and it just went well.
Yeah, I mean, you've already taken a win earlier on this season, of course, last time out at Kota in the pro class, but to have another podium, you know, you're at the time coming into this race, you know, you're going to be ahead of Hannes and I think possibly Arturo on points come the end of this. So, you know, you're really getting into the swing of things of being in the title fight. But we're about halfway through the season. It is going to be about consistency over the next few tracks, and of course, we have got the likes of Spa coming up in 3 weeks on March 2nd. We've got, of course, we're going to go to a couple of your home circuits as well. The Autodromo Enzo Edino Ferrari at San Marino on March 9th. And then we got Monza on the 20th of April. But there's a good variety of tracks. It's going to be a bit of a tough fight for the rest of the season, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. To be honest, I don't look at the standings too much, so I consider each race as an individual entity. I just want to have fun, and of course I'm aiming to win one race, but yeah, it's tough. There is some very fast people here, but yeah, maybe at Monza I might have some chances.
Gianluca, would you like to give anybody a shout out to before we let you go?
Well, yeah, shout out to Hannes, Mackenzie, and Marian. That was like really fun evening with them, and also thank you all of you. The broadcast is really killer.
Brilliant. Gianluca Iliano, mille grazie. We'll see you in 3 weeks at Spa-Francorchamps.
Sounds good. Ciao.
Yeah, this is the real reason why you don't give up, isn't it? Because we didn't know in the dying stages of this race that he was going to put the powerhouse down, wasn't it, on Marion? He was just dicing it. At some point, we were looking at that. What was about 12, 14 or something like that laps to go, I think it was. That was well, the overtake was on lap 44. 48. So you were like, oh, there's not enough time, isn't it? But he just consistency. And you got to remember once again. Yeah. This is after like that early spin, just as we saw before with James as well in P2. That can throw a big demotivational, really let you kind of down. Like, isn't that early in the race? You're like, oh, damn it, I've lost all these places. I don't think I'm going to make it back. But these drivers can prove to you can make it back. You can get yourself a podium place when at that point you probably thought, no, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that really rounds up live coverage of the iFormula League Super Formula Series Round 5 at Interlagos. There are your results. Of course, lots to come still. In about just over 10 minutes' time, live coverage of the Virtual World Sports Car Championship Historic 1964. The 2 hours of Daytona gets underway very shortly here on the JP Broadcasting Network. 2:15 tomorrow afternoon, we get underway with Round 1, Season 1 of the OGRL Coffee Cup Championship at Spa-Francorchamps. We'll be back here for more iFormula League action here in just under 24 hours' time here on JPB with the F3 Series, Round 5, pole position racing. F1 2023 Round 5 at Barcelona will take place at 7 p.m. tomorrow night. And then to round off every week, as we do here on JP Broadcasting, of course, it's everyone's favourite Formula 3 championship, IGP Fun, Season 1 2023-2024, Round 8 at Circuit Zandvoort in the Netherlands. He's been Dean Biggles. My name's Alex Goldschmidt. If in doubt, flat out. We'll see you next time. Good night.
Thank you.